Hey, everybody, and welcome. Welcome. I hope you're having a great day. I just want to come share a couple of quick tips on how you can actually close more prospects as early as today. So, one of the biggest struggles that I see once people start learning how to actually have conversations with more people is they just wonder how can they close more of those people without feeling like they're pulling their teeth, reviving people from the dead, or, forcing their prospects to really sign up. And one of the things I want you to remember is that one of the key objections in a closing conversation is not to force anybody or persuade anyone. It's to help A, guide them to make a decision, and B, inspire them into action. Meaning, if they're not going to do it, help them make the decision of no and move on, right? And if they want to do it, help them make the decision and jump into action so they can start reaching their goals sooner, right? The last thing you want is for somebody to say a maybe, or I'm not sure, or I need to think about it, right? Now, does that mean that they need to jump all in today, but help them make a decision to start on the path, right? And so it doesn't not only not do you a service, but it mainly doesn't do the prospect a service, because then they're in this kind of like teeter tatter, like, should I not, and that really is going to waste time, energy, productivity, and really cost them money, because there is a cost of inaction, meaning not making a decision and taking action on which decision you go towards is costing you money, right? And time. So I want to share three quick tips on how to start to close more prospects as early as this week. And I'm going to share a couple tips around the process of the conversation. Okay. So I think that you should definitely always do these three things in every closing conversation, no matter what it is, whether it's even for a product sale or a recruit. Okay. I'll give you the three things in case you're taking notes. You can write them down, and then I will expand on them. So the first is gather intelligence. Okay, we're going to dive into this. The second is what types of questions you should be asking. And then the third is closing. Like, what are the closing lines that you should always kind of end with? Okay, so number one, gathering intelligence. This is probably one of the biggest missed sections in recruiting conversations. You see, because people pop the question and invite people to a conversation or an opportunity presentation, and then they jump right into the closing. So what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Or do you want to do this? And then going into the explaining of the presentation. As network marketers, most often we get into this industry because we are extroverted, we're excited, we love people, and we get in and we start verbally vomiting over everybody. Oh my gosh, okay, well, the comp plan, so blah, 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 and this is how it works. Now, I'm not saying not to talk about your company. Like, there's a presentation period, meaning if you have about 30 minutes to have a recruiting chat with someone, only about 5 to 7 minutes of that time should be the presentation. And some of you think that's crazy, but the goal is to gather intelligence, because you can find out what do they want, because then the presentation doesn't revolve around what can they do with the company. It revolves around what can the company and your leadership and partnership do for them. And then it turns into more yeses, because now you're able to show them how they can get what they want. You help enough people get what they want, you'll eventually get what you want, right? So gathering intelligence basically looks like asking people questions that will help you find out what do they want, what are they looking for, finding the pains that they're having in their life. What is it that inspires them to take a look at the opportunity? What is it that inspired them to comment on your post about a product? Are they struggling with maybe weight loss if you sell weight loss products? Are they struggling with, being able to take vacations if you sell travel? Right? Asking open-ended questions, right? So that leads me to two. What kinds of questions should you be asking? Okay, this is probably one of the biggest game changers that I've ever had in learning how to communicate with people. When somebody asks you a question, especially, sometimes you ask them a question back, right? So, um, so open-ended questions are key. You always want to ask questions that begin with who, what, where, when, and how. Never why. Why can come off really condescending, and you want to try to limit this as much as possible. So I'll give you an example. Hey, Sally, when you think of, launching an online business, what are some of the things that are important to you? Boom. Like I'm telling you, if you ask just that one question, you're going to get so much gold that you're never going to have to worry about closing again, ever. Okay. And so, another thing you can ask is, just curious, Sally, when you think about, your day to day, what are some of the obstacles that you feel like would get in the way of building an online business? Look, now you can pull out the obstacles before they come out, the whole time objections, and you can crush them in the presentation before you ask for the close. Okay. What other kinds of online businesses are you looking at, if any? Guys, gathering this information is so key, and you want to do it by asking the right kinds of questions. Okay, never a yes or no. Are you interested in working with us? Are you interested in taking a look? Nothing yes or no. Obviously, they're interested, they're speaking with you, okay? The third is closing lines. Okay, this is one of the best things that I always do is asking them where they would like to go from here. So you've gathered some intelligence, you understand why they want to do this business, right? You've presented a little bit about how your company can make that work with them and what that might look like. And now you're ready to ask for the close. So when I first got started in network marketing, I pulled the whole generic, so are you ready to get started? I'd turn over in the hotel meeting, turn to the person next to me and give them a high five, and they'd either dismiss me or be like, maybe, or yeah. And I loved the energy about that, right? And we had a really cool program where it was just a fun vibe, right? So it wasn't super weird, but it was kind of weird. It's kind of weird, right? So instead I've thought, how can you just be more human? You see, people don't want to buy from high pressure salesmen. And don't think of yourself as a salesperson. You are literally guiding people to a decision. Remember, your job is to seek information and help guide them to make a decision and inspire them into action. So I learned this from my upline, Joan Robison, a few years ago. And it has 7 years ago. It's been game changer. Hey, Sally, you tell me, where would you like to go from here? Okay. So you can kind of sense in their voice when they've they've heard enough conversation, and now they're presentation, they're close to okay, they're thinking maybe they want to do it. They're not sure. Hey, Sally. So, and you can even pre-frame it hey, Sally. So the next step, this is so huge. Setting expectations is key. The next step is actually enrolling you into the program, enrolling you into our company, and getting you set up with your website within a couple minutes, and then helping you launch to earn back your income, earn back your investment in as little as the next 7 to 14 days. Okay. So sometimes you can say how does that sound to you? Here's where I really like to go, because you're able to feel them out without directly asking them if they're in or not. So Sally, you tell me, where would you like to go from here? And then just shut up. Silence is golden. We all know that, right? But this will almost give them it will almost shock them, because they're oh, you're asking me what I would like to do rather than telling me what I need to do or I have to do, right? So, Sally, you tell me, where would you like to go from here? So Sally, I hope that I did a due diligence. I'm going to give you an example from let's say I just finished the presentation. So I hope that kind of makes sense. I really do actually believe that you can make, absolutely earn that 5,000 to 6,000 a month that you're telling me that you really need within the next couple of months to start to drive up. And the way that we would do that basically is we would help you get started here. What that looks like is the next step would basically be enrolling you into the process. It's about a 2 to 3 minute process. You have your website up and running, and then we kind of schedule your onboarding call where you and I can partner and sit down and look what exactly is necessary to move the needle forward and earn back your investment over the next 7 to 10 days. So Sally, you tell me, where would you like to go from here? I love this. It is so open and inviting. And this is also much more of a feminine sales approach. So not to say that guys can't do it, but it's a little bit more of a feminine approach to sale, because you're allowing the prospect to feel comfortable, first off, and invited, and they have a say in it. And when people feel in control, they're more likely to make decisions. And when people don't feel in control, even if they make a decision, it's usually one that's going to end up in a refund, in a cancellation, in a ghosting. You want people to feel good and confident. People need to have confidence and clarity in order to make a buying decision. Okay. Confidence and clarity. So they need to feel confident that they understand how they'll achieve the goal, and they need to have clarity around what that looks like. And so if you instill the confidence in them and give them the clarity with a quick map out plan too during your presentation, it will be game changer. And again, because you already found out their obstacles at the front by gathering intelligence, you can now tackle all those things in the presentation rather than waiting till giving them everything you think they need to know and then waiting till the back end of the presentation to find out their obstacles, that now you've got to go into a whole separate conversation. And now it leads into going down a rabbit hole, and now they want to think about it. You see? So save time and energy, gather information, gather the intelligence about the prospect, ask the right questions, open-ended questions, and close in a feminine way where you can invite your prospect, right, to join you by asking them, like, where would you like to go from here? You tell me. Because if they're ready, they're going to say, I'm ready. And people will do that. About 2 out of 10 closes will do that. Majority of the people are like, I'd really like to do this, but, you know, I need to go talk to my husband, or I'd like to get started tomorrow. And you can go into some obstacle crushing there as well, because sometimes you can still move those people into action. Or they're like, I'm not interested. Cool. You just saved a lot of time and energy. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with tackling more obstacles after that, right? But you also just never want to do it to the point where once you feel friction or tension, you want to keep this super smooth presence where the next day, like if, let's say they're very adamant about like, no, I'm going to do this, but I'm talking to my husband tonight. I present everything to him, don't get into the whole, well, what do you think about blah, blah? Does your husband check with you every time you blah, 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 that he goes golfing, it's like, you want to start off with a good relationship. And so, like I said, I'm not saying that you can't help guide them make a decision and use some leverage and showcase, hey, maybe you have a placement suite and you're like, hey, that's cool. You want to talk to your husband, but just so you know, by waiting 24 hours, here's how it could potentially affect you. I just wanted you to know so you could have, all the proper information to make an educated decision. Again, putting the ball in their court, but with the valid information and the sense of urgency. Right. So, anyhow, you guys, having a good presence with that good energy is super important. You're starting a partnership with them. The last thing you want to do is go down a rabbit hole of like, well, blah, 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 trying to cover all the obstacles with all of these scripted kind of like obstacle tactics just to get them to sign up right then. Because I have been that person who has been a number one closer and ended up signing up some of the wrong people and ended up pushing away the right people because I got too high friction. So it's a balance. I'm not saying not to overcome obstacles. What I'm saying is don't go down the rabbit hole too much, because the second you feel any friction, back up. Sure, no worries. What time works best for you tomorrow? Book that next appointment. So you guys, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you can use this information to close more prospects as soon as this week. I'm super excited because we have some amazing trainings coming up. I'm going to be helping you recruit more, help your downline recruit more, and just kick off the next year with incredible momentum and help you really just with a great game plan. So next week, we'll be going into a little bit more about some recruiting strategies and how to use social media to expand your reach and help your team do the same. So I'll see you back here soon. And I hope this video was helpful. Please feel free to like and subscribe so that you can get all the updates to our show here on the Megan Miles Show. Bye, guys.